Good evening, and welcome to Battle Tested History number 12, The Dirty Dozen. That's right.
That's not
Tonight,
the movie we're looking at, though.
that's the movie we're looking at. Tonight, well, let's set the stage. In July of 1947, on a dark and stormy night, something crashed into the desert outside the small town of Roswell, New Mexico. What happened next is the epitome of a conspiracy theory. Now, as it happens, we have our CIA contingent, Mr. Scott Baker, who can tell us what really happened. Go to it, Scott.
I wish I could, but then I'd have to kill you all. Um, the movie we watched was the 1994 Roswell with Kyle
McLaughlin.
McCanahan,
Kyle McLaughlin.
Kyle McLaughlin, and Martin Sheen. I've done a lot of study on Roswell. Hi. See, this is my alien.
You scared mine away.
I did a lot of it because I visited Roswell probably about 6 or 7 years ago, maybe less, and I did a lot of research for one of my books. The movie Roswell 1994, do not watch it. It is crap. Yes, something crashed in the desert, and they talk about the possibility that it was a UFO. Other than that, the whole thing is everybody's being grabbed from Roswell by the government, and they're being browbeat and threatened. And, the guy, Marcel, who was the original person who did the press interview, he's like blacklisted in the movie, and he's trying to get his reputation back. It's all bullshit. That never happened to any of them. It reminded me a lot of JFK when they throw these facts at you that are confusing, and then all of a sudden Donald Sutherland comes in and pulls all the pieces together and turns it into a giant conspiracy theory. In this one, it's the same thing. Near the end of the movie, Martin Sheen comes in and pulls all this together into a giant conspiracy theory about other alien life forms, and one alien survived and told them that we're going to be visited by thousands of aliens, and James Forrestal jumped out of the 14th story of the Bethesda Naval Hospital because he couldn't take it, keeping the secret anymore. Don't watch it. It's horrible. But the truths of the matter were, something crashed in the desert on the stormy night. Brazel, who was the chief ranch hand for that, I think it was the Foster Ranch, found the remains. He waited several days, and then when he went into town, he started mentioning it, that something there crashed. And the newspapers picked it up. But at the time, they weren't really big about it. So they sent out Marcel, I think he was a lieutenant, I don't remember, to find it. They brought up all the pieces. He brought it back, and he announced that a UFO had crashed outside Roswell. The media started picking it up and playing with that. A day or two later, there was another press conference when he said, no, he was wrong. It wasn't a UFO. It was a weather balloon. And of course, then the conspiracy theory started. And I mean, there are some really unusual facts to the case that, as one who's very skeptical, certain things always get to me. Like, they did call up the local mortician and ask them if they had 3 children-sized caskets that were hermetically sealed. And he said, no, it's going to take me several days to get the caskets, and I don't even know if they make hermetically sealed caskets. So the military was like, oh, okay, Don't worry about it. Thank you so much. Um, the story died pretty much after that. It had a couple of days run, and no one ever talked about it until 1980, when a couple of guys wrote the book UFO Crash at Roswell, in which they went out and they supposedly they talked to a lot of people who were at the base at the time, many of who told their stories, what they saw. And that's when the whole thing about the Roswell crash, the UFOs, and these conspiracy theories started to come to life. But as for the movie itself, don't watch it. It's really not worth it.
Yeah, the thing about Roswell, the whole incident and everything surrounding it, and why I think it's had such legs, why it's lasted so long, is, well, in the first place, government runs on bullshit. It does. It
Yeah.
always has.
Oh, yeah.
In 1947, we still trusted the government.
Mm-hmm.
We don't now,
No.
with good reason. But back then, people did. People trusted what the government told them. And the thing about Roswell wasn't the incident itself. It wasn't that they called it a weather balloon and dismissed it out of hand. It was the way they did it. Politicians have turned bullshit into an art form. The military, and you can agree with this, I'm sure, turned it into a science.
Yeah.
So there's so many conflicting things going on with the story behind the Roswell incident. The ham-handed way they handled it. It's like, we have a flying saucer. A couple of days later, it's just a weather balloon. Nobody bought either story.
No.
And now, today, so many years later, it's like 70 some odd years later, if you look at any three documentaries
Mm-hmm.
about the Roswell situation, you'll get three different stories.
Yeah.
I found one that involved a couple of nuns. Nuns.
Yeah. It's see, I always wonder one thing I've always wondered is if they sent this guy out. Now there is some speculation that it was a top secret radiation detection device that they were going to run over the Soviet Union to try to pick up any evidence that they detonated a nuclear weapon. When it crashed, Marcel went out, saw, oh, I can't say it's top secret. So he said the first thing that came to mind, because 1947 UFOs were a big thing. Everybody was seeing weird things in the sky, the Cold War, the Red Scare. So he came out and said, oh, it's a UFO. And I'm sure somebody in Washington read that and went, oh my God, and made him change his story. So that's a possibility. But the one problem I have with Roswell, don't get me wrong, I believe in alien life form. I refuse to believe we're the only living creatures in the entire universe. And if we are, my God, what the hell happened? You would think by now there would be more evidence that somebody would have come out with a documentary, or not a documentary, like a video. Because I remember the alien autopsy video that was completely false. The one that Jonathan Frakes did, that was like, oh, please.
You remember the X Files version of that?
No, I don't. I've missed
Oh
that one.
man, that is one of my favorite X-Files episodes of all time.
Oh,
It's called Jose Chung's From Outer Space, and it stars Charles Nelson Riley.
oh my God.
Oh, it is awesome. It's in I think the third or fourth season.
Okay. Yeah,
It is awesome. I love that episode.
I've got to rewatch that. It's been so long since I've seen any of them. But yeah, no, the conspiracy theories just now run amok on it, and it's hard to say. Yeah, I mean, the thing I do know is that I think it was the Fosters that owned the ranch where whatever crashed refused to let people on the property for decades. It was only after they passed away and one of their family members sold the property, and the new owners now allow you to come out, but they charge $200 a person to come out and see the crash site. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, in the first place, if you own the land,
Mm-hmm.
wouldn't you keep people off of it?
If I owned the land now, I would do the organized tours. I would be charging the
Well,
$200.
nowadays you would.
Yeah. Oh, but back then, yeah.
So get the hell off my land.
But though after 1947, nobody really cared about it until 1980.
Yeah, I mean that something crashed.
Yes.
We don't know what.
Right.
The thing that makes the most sense, that would explain all the varying stories and the quick bullshit that involved in it, was that it was some top secret thing they were testing. Um, the Alamogordo, where the Manhattan Project took place,
Yeah.
isn't far from Roswell.
Right. And
I'm sure they were testing some secret squirrel shit out there.
and the air base where all this took place in Roswell was the only U.S. air base that it housed the only contingent of B-29 bombers equipped with nuclear weapons.
Yes.
So, and
529th Air Wing,
yeah,
I think.
I think so.
I think
And
that was the
then,
name of it.
and then not far from Roswell, a couple of hours drive, is White Sands, where they do all the rocket testing with Nazis. Oh, did I say that? So, yeah, something crashed. I don't know what. I always wonder if Marcel had never said it was a UFO, whether it was or not, none of this would have ever happened. We wouldn't be doing this show today.
No, we wouldn't. We wouldn't. It would just be some, little footnote in history.
Yeah. Hey, Jack. Now, I did read recently, within the past couple of weeks, that there is a report that came out that was uncovered in archives somewhere, that there was a UFO incident where a UFO apparently crashed into power lines or a power tower right outside of Roswell in 1945.
Yeah, there was something. Again, like I said, 3 different documentaries, 3 different stories.
Yeah.
One of them I saw talked about an incident that took place beforehand.
Yeah.
But it was light on the details. And that's the so called evidence that these conspiracy theories have is not evidence of anything. It isn't. I mean, the fact that it's easy to believe the government telling a lie about it leaves us wide open to speculation.
Yeah.
And people have speculated.
And how many? I mean, I don't think Brazel, the guy who found it, ever made a public statement stating, "Oh yeah, it was definitely a UFO." You know, almost everybody who reported it was secondary. You know, somebody at the hospital said, "Oh, when I walked past the ER, I saw one of the aliens sitting there." You know,
Mhm.
um, things like that. But you would think, with all the documentation, all the film recordings made, all the documentations, everything, somebody would be able to offer cold, hard evidence.
Yeah, and you would think that somebody who is part of that retrieval team
Hmm.
or the rancher himself
Yeah,
would have pocketed something,
exactly. Yeah,
anything.
yeah,
They make a big deal about the tinfoil you can crumble up
yeah, yeah.
and it pops back into shape.
Hmm.
All you need is you know a, a sample the size of a matchbook.
Yeah. And nobody took pictures. You know, I mean, if I was there now, granted, Brazil is a ranch. He doesn't think. He's more like, oh crap, what fell in the cattle field. But nobody took photographs, private photographs. Nobody at the warehouse where the thing was stored. No doctor or nurse snuck photographs of the Martian bodies. You know, no one in the government has ever like found the autopsy video.
Yeah, exactly. And a couple of years ago, I saw this one documentary where they claimed that they were using the latest technology to prove what happened. And they had this ultra uber cool guy lie detector
Mhm.
with the thermal imaging and the
Yeah.
whole 9 yards. And they went and talked to all these witnesses.
Hmm.
Well, it turns out that 90% of these witnesses never witnessed a goddamn thing.
Yeah.
They knew the people who had.
Hmm.
So they were saying they were taking lie detector tests based on whether or not somebody told them this story. So, yeah, okay, Uncle Fred,
Yeah.
after he's had a few drinks on Christmas Eve, tells nephew Bobby the story of aliens coming to the New Mexico desert.
Yeah.
That is what they use as evidence.
Yeah.
Bobby's testimony,
Yeah.
which isn't evidence of shit.
No. And they have done, groups have gone out to the crash site. Some of them allowed under the old owners, a lot of them new, that have scoured the area and have not found anything. Now, granted, I'm sure the military went through that thing with a fine tooth comb. I'm sure every little bit of metal was sucked up and taken back to Wright Patterson, but I mean Roswell, and then shipped to Wright Patterson. But
Well,
again,
that begs the
nothing.
question. If it was just a weather balloon, why did they
Yeah,
go to such extreme measures?
yeah,
That doesn't make any sense.
no,
It's just a damn weather balloon.
yeah,
I can see them making sure they pick up all the pieces of the radar reflector or whatever.
no,
But little pieces of balsa wood, why?
yeah,
Who cares?
yeah.
Unless it's something other than a weather balloon.
Yeah.
I'm
A
not saying
top,
it was a UFO.
yeah, a UFO, a top secret project.
The thing about UFOs is they are unidentified flying objects.
Yeah,
By definition, they're
I did.
unidentified,
Yeah,
which doesn't mean they come from outer space.
right.
It doesn't. I'm like you. I believe in the Carl Sagan billions and billions of stars.
Yes.
The odds of there not being intelligent life somewhere else in the universe they're not even worth calculating. Of course there is. Whether or not they visited us, I don't know.
Whether or not they have the ability to get here yet.
Show me the evidence. Show me the evidence, and I'll believe you. Until then, I'm gonna go.
Well, I still think we're just a reality TV show for the universe.
Yeah,
Hey, let's kick up the notch. Let's drop that old alien spacecraft. Let's drop that old spaceship in Roswell and see what happens.
yeah.
My wife and I get a kick. I don't know if any of you ever watch American Dad, but there is one episode where Roger the alien tells everybody he's the decider. He was sent to Earth to determine whether humans should survive. And it turns out he was a crash test dummy when they crashed the aircraft. They crashed the saucer to see if if the seatbelts would work. See, I think a lot of it came about too because 1980, no one trusted the government back then.
No, not after Nixon.
Now,
Not after Nixon.
We came out of the Vietnam War. We came out of Watergate, all that shit. The Church Committee. We exposed to Hoover's FBI to what they really were. This book fueled. I mean, this book was a open barrel of gasoline tossed into the fire of nobody trusts the government. So.
Yeah, exactly.
And then there was the guy, I can't remember the name of the book, Whitley Strieber's book, Communion, which was supposedly, I loved it because he said he wrote it as fiction, so he didn't have to send it through the government for approval. And then he tells the whole story of Roswell. And he said, now, if it was true, the government wouldn't let me publish my work of fiction. Which was like, yeah, but if it's a crock of shit, the government's going to let you publish it. They don't care.
Yeah, well, and this is the thing about conspiracy theories. They're like on an endless loop.
Oh, yeah.
Where one theory feeds the next,
Yes.
feeds the next, feeds the next. So nothing you say can change people's minds. No amount of evidence.
No.
Can change people. They believe aliens landed here.
Oh, yeah.
And there's nothing you can say, no evidence you can show that would dissuade them from that. It's the same. I pick on this a lot, but it's the same as flat Earth.
Yeah.
There's people will fight you because they believe the Earth is flat.
Yeah.
It's demonstrably not flat.
No. But see, I love this conspiracy theory because I play with it.
Yeah.
My cousin, I love him dearly. He's convinced that we are visited by UFOs, that they live amongst us, and that the CIA knows everything. And every time I'd come back to Boston to visit, he'd take me to lunch. And as we were driving along, he'd turn up the radio in the car and say to me, tell me what you know. And I used to always play with him. Rob, I can't. I could get us both killed with this. So one Christmas, him and a friend, we were at a Christmas party and they're sitting around the house talking about how the moon landing never took place. That it was all fake. Stanley Kubrick did it, blah, blah, blah. And I let him go on for 10 minutes. And then I got mad at them and said, you two have no idea what you're talking about. We got to the moon. We landed on the moon because it was part of the deal. We gave them asylum. They gave us the technology. It's the only reason why America got there and not the Russians, the Japanese, the Chinese, anyone else. So I went into the kitchen, and his wife comes in 2 minutes later and goes, "You are such a dick." She said, "That's all they're talking about now."
Oops.
Yeah.
Yeah. The you know, the whole alien thing. I mean, we did a show on Eric Von Donigan,
Mm,
right?
yeah.
The Chariots of the Gods.
Yes,
It's people want to believe this stuff.
they do.
They want to. All they're looking for is some semblance of a logical storyline.
Mm.
Doesn't even have to be that logical. But
Well, I think, and I know it's all fiction, but I always wonder if the aliens are observing us. If it's like Star Trek, the Prime Directive, we're primitive. We haven't reached that point yet. So they're studying us to see, you know, should we lock the doors when we fly by, or should we reach out to them?
yeah,
And like one thing, my wife is a huge fan of Ancient Aliens, and I can't stand that show. Because to me it is so it's just so, I don't mean this to sound the way it is, but it's like so racist. Oh, those ancient Aztecs could never have built those gigantic stone structures. Oh, those ancient North African Egyptians could never build those big, beautiful pyramids. Why not? I mean, nobody ever sits here and says that, the aliens built the Great Wall of China.
yeah.
I mean, just because they had ways of doing it back then
They
that,
had ways of you could do the geometry for the pyramid
yes,
with a stick and a piece of string.
exactly.
It really isn't much more than that.
And I did a lot of research on the building of the pyramids for, the book I wrote. And they are coming up with a lot of, like, recently they discovered that layer inside with the ramps where they think they pulled up all of the heavy stones. They've come up with the conclusion that what they did was they built the exterior wall of the pyramid on one level and then filled it in with the stones rather than from the inside out. And if you sit there and you try to put every theory together in Ancient Aliens, it just now starts to contradict each other.
Of course. Of course. Well, it's the same with the ghost hunters.
Oh God, yes.
That you have these guys that are going into these houses and they're like, what? What? Did you hear that? It's like, shut the fuck up.
Yeah. Something dropped in the other room. I'm scared.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's like it's always the same story.
Mhm.
Always the same story. Aliens are the same thing. It's always the same story.
Yeah.
Some guy from the middle of bumfuck nowhere
Yeah.
gets abducted by aliens.
Yeah.
What the hell are the aliens doing out there?
Yeah.
Really, what?
Yeah, no, let's land at the UN and talk to the world leaders. No, why do that? Let's pick up some.
Let's go talk to Billy Bob instead.
Yeah. I was out there with the cow. We weren't doing nothing. But you know what I do find funny is back in the 1950s, every science fiction movie, the aliens were bad. We were scared. We had to fight them off. this island Earth, the thing, the only one where the aliens weren't bad was Day the Earth Stood Still. And even then, it was a warning. You humans
Yeah.
are stupid. If you keep this up, we're going to nuke your planet and get rid of you.
Yeah.
You're a threat to everyone. Now, most of the alien so many of the alien movies are like E.T., Close Encounters, where we want them to come. We want them to save us. We want them to take us away.
Yeah, I thought that was hilarious. And what was it? So, Independence Day.
Yeah.
When they're standing on the roof, hi, take
Yeah.
me, welcome aliens, and then they get blah.
Well, I loved Independence Day for the one main reason. I got sold in that movie when he's like, there's no such thing as aliens. And the head of national security is like, that's not true.
Entirely
Yeah.
true.
And then it's like, how did you pay for this? You think they actually pay $70,000 for a hammer? And I'm thinking to myself, wow.
Yep. Yeah. Well, the thing, my cousin
Mm-hmm.
was married to a guy who, I don't know if he was in the Air Force and subcontracted to the Air Force, but he was an engineer
Mm-hmm.
who worked on the hangar in which they were building and testing the B-1 bomber.
Mm-hmm.
This is back before we knew, back before it became public
Yeah.
that we had stealth technology.
Right.
Well, he was doing this out at Area 51.
Mm-hmm.
And, they would fly them out in a plane with the windows blacked out,
Mm-hmm.
take them in a bus with the windows blacked out so you couldn't see anything.
Mm-hmm.
She told me that the security was so tight, so mental, that they drove some of the people nuts because the stress levels were so high.
Yeah.
I mean, they were looking at your trash.
Yeah.
They were checking your briefcase when you left.
Yeah.
And it makes sense that they were doing that.
Yeah. But you see, I always wonder if there was somebody that was like, okay, you're the security officer for Area 51. How are you going to detract from us? And he thought, oh, we'll just say there's UFOs out here. Nobody will ever think about stealth technology or the stuff we're building.
It worked, didn't it?
It worked really great. Yes, there's signs out there that says, come cross this fence line, we'll kill you because you're going into top secret territory. I mean, when I was in Okinawa, I remember we had the SR-71s based there. Nobody thought they were bad. Nobody thought they were UFOs. And yet you had that perimeter where if you got within the perimeter, you'd be shot. And one night, some drunk Okinawan citizen thought it'd be fun to go in and get a picture with the plane. And they wound up shooting him because he kept on refusing to stop. If you're going to do that with something that the whole world knows about, you're definitely going to do that with something that they're trying to keep hidden from the Russians.
Yeah, and the thing is, the government doesn't screw around when it comes to security. They don't. I had a secret clearance.
Yes.
When I was in the Coast Guard. The vast, 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 vast majority of the stuff that I was exposed to is bullshit.
Yeah.
And even the stuff that wasn't bullshit, that stuff, the circumstances surrounding it are over.
Mm-hmm.
So if I talked about them, it wouldn't be any big deal.
Right.
Except that if I talked about it, I could go to jail.
Mm-hmm.
Because secret
is
secret. You don't violate it, period.
No, like I had a Q clearance, which was nuclear weapons.
Hmm.
And I was given one of those top secret, code worded clearance is what they are.
Hmm.
It's whatever operation or whatever asset, it's limited to the number of people who can see it. And for example, it didn't go to the Secretary of State, it went to Hillary Rodham Clinton. If Hillary wasn't there, nobody else could see it. It went to President Barack Obama, Vice President Biden. No one else was allowed to see that stuff. And that was always, you know, it was Putin's mistress. It was Kim Jong Un's chauffeur. It was a wiretap on President Xi. It was stuff like that, and they were quick with that shit because somebody leaked something once. And I remember the day after it hit the newspaper, they called me and the other guy who did Korea stuff in, and they said, we want the list of everybody that goes to. And within 72 hours, they'd made the arrest.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So it's not something that they play around with.
No.
But
Yeah.
now, if you're talking about a UFO, if you're talking about taking the technology, if you're talking about the bodies, you would need a lab complex like an Independence Day. Thousands of people are going to be aware of this. Sure, Jackie Gleason said Nixon took him to see one. I want the proof. I want the selfie with the two of them, with the alien spacecraft in the background.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Yeah. I don't know. There's so much.
And the other thing I always wonder, let's assume that there are incidents. Betty and Barney Hill. There's a lot of reasons why you'd want to believe them. Why would a black man and a white woman in the early 1960s, when that was not a good thing to do, make themselves public? I always wonder how many of these alien encounters are just somebody in the government throwing out stuff. Oh crap! They saw that UFO over New Mexico this afternoon. Hey, let's talk about the alien landing, the eye gouging of the redneck, and the killing of all the cows.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. So there's a great bit in the movie Midway, the original,
Yes.
um, where it talks about FDR being taken off the need to know list
Yeah.
because
Yes.
because somebody in the Oval Office was doing something.
Yeah.
But that's true. That actually happened.
Yeah.
Um, the government doesn't screw around when it comes to security. I find it real easy to believe that they would think that aliens would be a better cover story.
Yeah. Yeah. And I got that idea from somebody at the CIA. Now, she was younger than me. I don't even think her parents were born when Roswell hit. But she had mentioned that somebody had asked her once, it was during like an all hands meeting, for the newbies. And somebody asked her about the aliens. And she says, come on. She says, we made that stuff up to cover up what really happened at Roswell. And ever since then, I'm like, now is she bullshitting us or?
But it makes sense.
Yeah.
It makes more sense than aliens traveling trillions and trillions of miles to get here and crash.
Yeah. Now, let me throw out another conspiracy theory that might make more sense. Suppose the crash wasn't an alien, or suppose it was an alien probe like Voyager, like the Mars rover. Then there might be a cover up. There wouldn't be any alien bodies. But
Yeah. I mean, You got to remember, this is 1947.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Sputnik hadn't even gone up yet.
No, no, we had not even. I don't think at that point we'd even made a missile, a ballistic missile that could break the atmosphere.
Not yet, I don't think.
Yeah, yeah.
So I'm
Sputnik had
sure.
not gone up. Really, pretty much the only rocket that was viable at that time was the V2. Everything project the military and the Navy was working on was a complete failure.
Well, the Nazis had supposedly been working on the America bomb,
Yes,
which
yeah,
was an intercontinental ballistic missile.
yeah. The A9 or the A10, I think it was. Yeah, they'd had it. They had the plans for it, and they were actually going to work on it. They were going to like use, I think, 2 or 3 or 4 V2s as the main booster to get it up. But by 47, I don't think anybody had been able to break the atmosphere.
Not yet.
Yeah.
Well,
And
we've never done it if you go with the flat Earth people.
and you just go down and fall off the edge. And I'm trying to think. I think I don't think science fiction alien movies started until the early 1950. First one I can think of is The Thing from Another World, 51.
Yeah.
I can't think of it.
Well, I mean, you didn't really have UFO sightings until the Foo Fighters,
Yes. Yeah.
which happened during World War II.
Yeah.
Now,
But how much?
a lot of this was like at night
Mhm.
in the sky
Yeah.
where all sorts of bizarre meteorological shit happens.
Yeah. I mean, there was that infamous battle off the Aleutian Islands, where the U.S. Navy spent like 30 minutes going after these incoming Japanese aircraft. It turned out it was a star, and they miscalculated it. Plus you
I,
also figure the Germans had those, and I cannot remember the name. They had those rocket fighters, the ones that would go up. The pilot would steer it towards an aircraft, fire a whole bunch of mini rockets, and then parachute out. You had the the ME-262, the
right.
first jet fighter. That goes whizzing ass by you. The first person is going to go, whoa.
What the hell is that?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But of course, it was aliens.
Yes, of course.
It's always aliens. And what I want to know is where the anal probe came from. Who was the first one who came up with that, and why?
I don't know. I mean, I'm going to get in trouble, but it was probably some guy that got drunk with his best friend, and it was like, I don't want to admit I did that. Aliens.
Anal probe.
I remember I went the first time I saw the movie Fire in the Sky. You remember that one? Where they put the guy in the thing and they open up his eye, they put all the clamps in it, and they put that big thing down that goes to his eye. The very next day I had an optometrist appointment, and he was telling me that the blood vessels in my left eye were broken. That's why I couldn't see well. So he said, "We'll give you an injection." And I'm sitting there, he's making the needle. All I could think about was that scene, when he's putting the thing on the eyelids to open it up. I was like watching the ceiling for this giant needle to come down.
Yikes. No, thank you.
But alien movies UFO and alien movies have always been popular. Now, if you want a good theory about what happened at Roswell, watch the movie Paul.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love that movie.
I laugh. That's one of my favorite alien movies. It's a comedy.
Yeah.
If anybody wants to watch it, it's a comedy, but it's got its own explanation of how it all came about.
Well, you know what they say. Many a truth is said in jest.
Yeah. So I wonder who our anonymous Facebook user is. Oh, that's
Lee
right.
Edwards.
It's the CIA guys.
It's Lee Edwards.
Yeah. How you doing, Lee?
or at least it says it's Lee Edwards.
Yeah.
It could be Zontar.
No, it's probably the NSA guy. If you're my NSA watcher, say hello back.
You never know.
It was funny when I first moved in with my wife. I retired, moved down to Florida, and for 3 or 4 days, I don't know what it was doing out there, but there was a white van parked at the end of our driveway. I think they were doing, I think they were like doing surveying work and that. But every time my wife would come home, she'd go, "Why is there a white van parked out front?" And I'd go to the door and wave. And
Yeah, well, I'm sure you've had lots and lots of jokes
oh,
about your involvement in CIA.
the first year we were married, I used to tease her. So we'd like, she'd be watching Ancient Aliens and I'd be reading a book, and they'd go like, and this UFO crashed here, but they covered it up and said it never did. I said, of course it didn't. It didn't crash at Roswell. It crashed at some other place. And my wife would look at me and then like, you're an ass.
And how could you not do that?
No, that's just the way I am.
Well, and that's getting back to the thousands of people who would have to know.
Exactly.
Somebody somewhere
would have evidence.
Somebody somewhere, after drinking a few too many, would have told that story.
Yeah.
All over the place, and it would have spread like wildfire.
But I want to see cold, hard evidence. I don't believe, this is me, maybe I'm wrong. If the UFOs don't want to be seen, they're not going to be seen. It's not going to be a white light in the sky. If they want to be seen, it's going to be day the earth stood still. It's going to be landing right there in the middle of the mall. 1,001 people. I tell stories all the time about my encounter with the aliens. I got this weird conspiracy theory about why we went to war with Iraq. Because, an alien spacecraft supposedly crashed in Babylon thousands of years ago. I want the proof. I want somebody to show a alien autopsy video. I want somebody to show a document that isn't disproven, And then you've got so many people in the government doing that. You'd think you'd see it by now.
Well, yeah, and you've had the recent release of documents.
Yes.
And everybody goes, see, it proves it. It proves it. It doesn't prove shit.
Yeah.
It doesn't prove a thing. Roswell was 70 plus years ago.
Yeah.
71 years ago, I think. No, 76 years ago.
Yeah, 76 years ago.
76 years ago. If aliens did land back then, 76 years later, you could tell us about it.
Yes.
They could release that information and nobody would care. Everybody goes, see, I told you. And that'd be it.
And I love the fact now people go back and look at old medieval and Renaissance paintings. And the one I love is hieroglyphics, where somebody looks at the hieroglyphic and says, look, see, there's a nuclear mushroom cloud.
Yeah. Well, and you're talking about the Egyptians, people who drank beer instead of water.
Yeah.
They did.
Yeah, no, they did.
Beer was a food group. It literally was. It was liquid wheat or whatever.
Go back to the good old days.
Still be alive from that. Look at the JFK stuff.
Well, I've even
47. They'd be a kid. They'd have been a kid.
yeah. I mean, if they were new recruit into the military, they'd be 96 now.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. So
You know,
even
and
if you're
over
a little
the
kid,
and I can see up to like the early 2000s where you couldn't walk out with the stuff. You know, now you got these damn things. You could sneak one of them into the government. You could take photographs of them. That's why if you're caught with a cell phone inside the building, you're in. Even if you forget about it, you slipped it in your pocket.
you're in
You're
deep
in.
shit.
You're in deep shit because of the stuff you can get. I mean, government computers with classified information no longer have USB ports.
But then there's a reverse of that. I remember one time when I was a construction inspector,
Mm-hmm.
I got sent to Spa War in San Diego
Yeah.
to inspect this terrazzo floor they were putting in.
Yeah.
Well, right next door, on the other side of a large glass window, was one of the original drones. The original, the big ones.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it was sitting right there.
Yeah.
No security around me.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I couldn't exactly go into that room,
Yeah.
but it was right there.
Yeah.
I could have taken pictures of it. Of
And
course, by then everybody knew we had them, but
yeah.
that's got to be banned. I'll bet you that's banned.
And like one other thing is, and we touched on this with Foo Fighters, cruise missiles. How many cruise missiles, when they first were tested, before we even knew about it, were UFOs? I remember when Jimmy Carter said, we have invisible fighters. He was referring to the stealth technology. And I remember the jokes in the newspaper about him and the invisible fighters and that. It was stealth technology.
Stealth technology.
You know, what is the government or other governments working on now that we can't comprehend? And when we see it whiz by the sky, it's like, oh, that must be a UFO. No, that's a super. And I know the Chinese are working on a supersonic drone that can't be shot down, that could crash into like American naval vessels. Oh, yeah, that's Dungeon Dan.
Yeah, of course it's Dan. They're constantly working on stuff.
Oh yeah,
on all sorts of weapons. There's no end to the amount of nastiness that we can inflict on other countries. Yeah. And well, just look at DARPA. Defense, which is defense.
Oh, I know. I used to know that. Yeah.
Research.
I
something.
For a book that I'm going to be re-releasing soon, and probably about 3 or 4 months. Yeah, I did research on DARPA. Oh my God, those people are effed up.
Oh, seriously?
Yeah.
They don't have to produce.
No.
It's like they've got a bizarre idea. Okay,
let somebody else produce it.
Here's $300 million.
Yeah.
You have 5 years. 5 years of doing God only knows what.
Yeah.
For $300 million.
Let me call you back in 10 minutes. Sorry, somebody called me. So, yeah, I mean, do I discount UFOs? Sorry. Do I discount aliens visiting the planet? No. I do tend to think that if they're on this planet, they're not making contact with us, because let's face it, most people would.
Would you?
The sad thing is, if a UFO landed in my backyard, I would get on that thing. That's the way I am.
Hell yeah, I would. But
I mean, You land out in the middle of Texas. It's
Look
gonna
at
get
it.
wiped out.
Look at it from the other side, though. If you were an alien
Yeah,
and you had the technology to get here,
yeah.
looking at us, would you want to look closer?
No,
No fucking
no,
way.
no.
I'd stay the hell away from here.
Yeah. Now, unless, again, like I made that theory, unless these aren't manned spacecraft, these could be drones sent here, like their version of Voyager, to see what we're really like. And, somewhere, they're sitting back at their home planet going, hey, no fucking way.
Yeah, no.
Yeah. And we sure as hell ain't landed in Texas.
Yeah, somebody selling tours as a discount travel destination.
Yeah.
Visit war-torn Beirut.
Yeah.
Right. I just Dungeon Dan again.
Yeah. Nobody trusts the CIA anymore.
No, they don't. No, they don't.
We spent so many years building up our reputation, and now if the CIA told me it was snowing out, I would think it was mind control.
And it could be. You never
Yeah.
know.
No, it's not mind control. It's too damn cold and wet out.
Yes.
My Basset Hound Beagle mix, he was running through it today. I mean, it was up to his ears, and he was still having the time of his life.
Dogs.
Yeah, I know.
That's so awesome. Maybe that's why the aliens are coming to get our dogs.
They are
Bastards.
they're the most intelligent and the most reliable form of life on this planet.
They are.
You never see a dog would betray you for a treat.
Nope. Nope. All right, so we got 3 minutes left. So what you got going on?
I'm working on getting the Rada World series republished. But I'm doing it also as a box set. I'm going to be selling all 3 Rada World books for 99 cents on Kindle. And I haven't determined. I got to see how much the pricing costs with Amazon to get the print set done. I'm still working on Nurse Alyssa 9. I'm hoping to get that out sometime in early to mid-March. And I'm starting to do the plotting and research for the 4th Tatiana Paranormal book.
Awesome.
And you?
The audio version of Full Metal Zombie just came out.
Yeah, I heard.
Narrated by Matt Crow. Did a phenomenal job as always. He will be starting Senseless Slaughter February 1st to do the audio for that. I'm currently 10K into Death and Destruction. A lot of killing going on.
Yeah.
I may resurrect you still.
Oh, this is part of the Mayhem series.
Yes, Epic
Oh,
Mayhem.
okay. When you said Death and Destruction, I thought it was the next zombie book. I mean, it does sound like a title you'd use.
No, but I have come up with what will be Guardians of the Apocalypse 10, which is to be called Murphy's Law of Zombies.
Guys, if you have not read the Guardians of the Apocalypse series yet, you do not know what you're missing. It is zombie porn. When you cannot, a sexual, the killing of them. It's not like, oh, let's shoot 1 or 2 with a shotgun. It's like thousands. You've probably killed off half the zombie population in your book.
Probably. Easily. And, that's why the thing about writing a series, and you know this, each successive addition to that series, you need to up the stakes.
Yes. Yeah.
By the end of book 9, I had book 9, Full Metal Zombie. There are a dozen storylines going through that. A
Yeah.
dozen of them.
Yeah.
The way I ended it, which I'm not going to give you any spoilers,
No, I don't like spoilers.
um, the way I ended it, I did it out of self-preservation
Yes.
because I couldn't keep. There's no way I could do a book 10.
No.
A dozen storylines nearly drove me insane.
Yeah.
So book 10 will be much smaller.
Good.
I've removed them from.
Yes. Remove them. Other words, killed off.
Well, I did some of that too, but I removed the core group from
Mm-hmm.
the rest of it. So it's back to just the guys in the sass
Right.
and the boots, and.
Exactly. Yeah.
Now, once I'm finished with Death and Destruction,
Mm-hmm.
which I should be done by Valentine's Day,
Good.
thereabouts. Then I'm going to republish Crawl
Mm-hmm.
after I update a little bit, and then I'm finally going to finish Stand Tall.
Good.
So
Good.
that'll be the Pressure series. That'll be
Yeah,
done.
that's the series that got me hooked on your books.
Well, I've said it. It's still too close to reality.
Yeah, I know. It's scary.
It is. I didn't when I started writing it. I didn't expect it to get like it is now.
Mm.
I shouldn't have been surprised, but
No.
it's bad now. It really is.
Yeah.
No matter which side of the spectrum you fall on, it's bad. It can't keep going like it has. So I don't generally like to. If, I write and I read for entertainment.
Mm-hmm.
The way the world is today isn't entertaining.
No.
So, no. But I'm going to get it done. I know I'm going to piss off everybody, but too bad. I'm going to get it done.
If you're not pissing off people, you're not doing it right.
Right. And then, well, you can't tell a story like that talks about society tearing itself apart.
Exactly. Yeah.
And it would. No question about it. Society would tear itself apart. If, in the immediate aftermath of a super volcanic eruption, oh yeah. Society would absolutely tear itself apart. But you can't tell that story without accounting for all sides of that society.
Exactly. Yeah.
Now, as polarized as we are today, you can't tell that without pissing everybody off. Fuck them. That's what I say. But anyway, that's about it. That's good enough. I'm busy enough. So that brings us to the end of our hour.
Yeah.
Another great show, Scott.
I love this one. Yeah.
We'll have to come up with something interesting for 2 weeks from now.
Yes.
It'll be episode 13.
Yeah. Lucky 13.
We could do a Valentine's Day massacre.
There's no movie, but we could always do.
Actually, there is. There is. I don't remember the name of it, but there is a movie that the thing I remember about this movie, I saw it decades ago. It's a little bit funny. Yeah. Okay.
I know. I was going to respond to that. Take the damn trash out. I think she means your computer. She listened to our show.
That could be it. But yeah, I've lost my train of thought entirely.
St. Valentine's Day Massacre.
Yeah, it talks about there's a narrator that goes throughout it, and they go on the last day of his life, such and such. And it tells the story
Yeah.
of all 6 people that were shot down, that were gunned
Hmm.
down, which is pretty cool.
That might be an interesting to do.
Yeah, I mean, it's February 14th, so
Right. So,
yeah, we'll figure it out. In any event, we will see you guys in 2 weeks.
ciao,
Take it easy.
everyone.
Thanks to everybody that chimed in. Dan, you're a sick bastard.
We love you.
He does. But all right. Till next time, folks. Peace.
Ciao.